Life is a symbol of brightness and prosperity, and to make this day a blessed one, will invoke Goddess Saraswati by lighting the lamp of knowledge and wisdom. For seeking the choicest blessings for the same, I invite all the dignitaries to light the lamp. Now,
to all of you. Honorable Chairperson Dr. Shankar Ashish Dutt, who is the head of the Department of English, Patna University. Honorable Vice Chancellor of Patna University Dr. Ras Bihari Prasad Singh. Respected Dr. Bindeshwar Pathak, founder of Sulabh Sanitation and Social Reform Movement. Respected Dr. Damodar Thakur, former Chairperson, Faculty of Arts, Sana University, Sana, Yemen. Respected Dr. Sanjay Datta Rai, Professor of English, Allahabad University, Allahabad. Respected Dr. J.P. Singh, former head of the Department of English, Patna University, and former Bhagalpur University, and presently working as editor, Sulabh, India. A host of retired as well as working teachers sitting in the hall. My mentor, Sri Arjun Prasad Singh Ji. Dear students, friends from the print and electronic media, brothers and sisters. Today we are observing the 16th Punyatithi of Dr. R.K. Sinha. He was the head of the Department of English, Patna University for about 28 years. He joined Patna College as a lecturer in 1938 and went to Oxford University for his research work. He completed his thesis entitled Literary Influences on D.H. Lawrence under the supervision of Lord David Cecil in 1949. Friends, Dr. R.K. Sinha was the first scholar in the world to work on D.H. Lawrence. Had his thesis been published in the year 1949, that would have been the first work on D.H. Lawrence. But at that time, the thesis could not be published, and in 1951, F.R. Lewis's book, Lawrence the Novelist, was published, and that is considered among the scholars as the first research work on D.H. Lawrence, but the reality is something else. Dr. Sinha came back to Patna University in 1950. He was popular among his students as well as teachers as RKS, the initial names, Radha Krishna Sinha, and Lord Sinha, Radha Babu, Sinha Sahab, etc. and etc. He was a teacher par excellence. Those who have attended his class still remember his style of teaching and power of oration. He became a legend during his lifetime. I believe that in this conference hall, many of his students are sitting over here. And They were privileged to have been Dr. Sinha's direct students in the classroom. Still, they remember the style in which Dr. Sinha used to talk. Time didn't matter at that time. Today, we are focusing upon management of time as to how many hours a teacher should spend in the campus. But when Dr. Sinha engaged his classes, he forgot the concept of time. Students also forgot the concept of time. So mesmerizing was his lectures that it continued more than 3 hours at a stretch. Friends, Dr. R.K. Sinha Memorial Committee, the patron of which is Padma Bhushan Dr. Bindeshwar Pathak, has already published a voluminous commemorative volume on Dr. R.K. Sinha in 2006. We plan to establish Dr. R.K. Sinha Chair in the Department of English, Patna University, so that we can preserve the memory of the great teacher. Dr. R.C. Prasad Memorial Committee is also the other committee under the patronship of Dr. Bindeshwar Pathak. That committee has also brought out a Jadant Shrift for Dr. Ramchandra Prasad, who was a worthy student of Dr. R.K. Sinha. And that book has been published by Motilal Banarsi Das. Today we are going to release this book. So to mark the memory of literary Dr. R.C. Prasad, the book that has been published is entitled Literary Wares. And I think it would be a dedication from a student to a great teacher. Because a teacher is always happy when he sees his students prospering day by day. Dr. Sinha was very proud of Dr. Ramchandra Prasad. So the release of the book on this occasion will be a tribute not only to Dr. R.C. Prasad but also to the late Dr. R.K. Sinha. And then one research journal is published under the patronship of Dr. Bindeshwar Pathak. From 2014 we have been publishing it biannually, but due to certain practical reasons we have now made it annual, and this approaches is a platform to the teachers as well as the scholars to give expression to their critical thoughts freely. We publish their articles free of cost, and Dr. Pathak assists us financially, and that journal is also going to be released today. Friends, I feel privileged to announce that Dr. D.P. Vidyarthi Memorial Committee has also been constituted under the patronship of Dr. Bindeshwar Pathak. We have been collecting research articles for a long time to mark the memory of that great teacher, Dr. D.P. Vidyarthi. About 20 articles have already been collected. Some of the scholars have also assured me that they would be submitting their articles by the end of September. I request you all who are present here to write research articles. Friends, these are the activities of Dr. R.K. Sinha Memorial Committee and the Department of English, and we hope we will perform, and we are committed to perform if we are given facilities for performance. I express my humble gratitude and indebtedness to Dr. Bindeshwar Pathak, who not only provides us financial support but also guides us like the evening star. Whenever we forget our gaze for some time being, it is like the evening star that he guides us. On this occasion, I welcome our patron, Dr. Bindeshwar Pathak, the Honorable Vice Chancellor, the guests of honor, Dr. J.P. Singh and Dr. Avdesh Kumar Sharma, and the speakers, Dr. Damodar Thakur and Dr. Sanjay Datta Rai. Friends, I hope the topic that is for you, Ancient India's Search for Identity and for its suitable language, you will be taken back to the past glory of our country. And then Dr. Sanjay Datta Rai will also express his ideas about Dr. R.K. Sinha and about the importance of the stories on which Dr. Sinha worked. So with these words, I welcome all of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Now I would again request
Thank you.
Dr. Shankar Ashish Dutt, chief guest on the occasion, Padma Bhushan, Dr. Bindeshwar Pathak, Vice Chancellor, Patna University, Professor Ras Bihari Singh, teacher, my guru, Professor Sinha. I am reminded of the title of one of the volumes of Bachchan's autobiography, Kya Bhoolun, Kya Yaad Karun. Every day I remember him. But I would like to first express my gratitude and gratitude on behalf of all the students of Professor Sinha and Professor Prasad also now. Those students who are sitting here, those who are not sitting here, those who are alive, those who are dead, to Dr. Bindeshwar Pathak for immortalizing the memory of these two legendary teachers of our time. I think and pray you should be receiving their blessings along with the blessings of God throughout your life in all your endeavors. Before I speak about his life, I would like to narrate his message to all the teachers. And one of the incidents of his life, these two I was reminded of only this morning when I came across a news item in the newspaper today about UGC formulating certain rules related to university teachers, asking them to read and not to give tuition. You know, it was in late 70s when Professor R.K. Sinha was invited to address teachers and students in the BN college by the then principal of that college, Bose Sahab, S.K. Bose. I happened to be there, so he asked me to accompany him, and I sat there in the audience. I remember everything, but one thing that I would like to mention this morning is, he said, addressing to teachers, it is the singular prerogative of the teachers to be paid for a lifetime to keep reading, to keep studying. You are not paid for anything else. So don't forget why society pays you throughout your life. And this is for all the teachers to remember. The second thing regarding tuition, one day, after 2 years of my joining in Bhagalpur University, he asked me a question. Do you give tuition also? I said, no, sir. But and he mentioned a teacher, it's not necessary to name him, but he had been giving tuition all his life, and that's why he didn't do anything in his life. He was a brilliant student. I said, yes, sir. Then he said, do you know, when I was very young, 3 students started nagging me to give them tuition. And he named one of, I remember one name, many of you might be knowing, he is no more, Siddhi Babu, who was an advocate, a very senior advocate in the Patna High Court. So he was one of those 3 students. He said, I refused. And then they approached someone who approached me, and again I refused. And then they approached someone else who also approached me, and I couldn't say no. And then I asked them to come at 4 o'clock, appointed a date and time. And do you know, since morning itself, what kept haunting my mind, those 3 will come at 4 o'clock. Now it was 12 o'clock, and again they will come at 4 o'clock. Now it was 2 o'clock, and again they will come at 4 o'clock. And do you know, at 3 o'clock I left my house, telling my family members, when they asked, tell them I am not here. And they came and went back. Next day again, they met him on the campus, said, Sir, कल तो आप कहीं चले गए थे, आज हम लोग फिर आएंगे. Said, okay. And at 3 o'clock again he left. After that, they again had to come at 4 o'clock, and he said, I don't want to speak lies, but you know, there is no way out. So he was at home, and he asked someone to say to them, tell them I'm not well. And they again left, and the 4th day they met him on the campus, and they came to him laughing and said, Sir, now we have understood. Now we won't nag you anymore. And that's how he got rid of tuition. So tuition is not a must. And I didn't give tuition, and I lived comfortably. So if you decide to live with what you get, that's more than enough. And give tuition in the classroom, give tuition on the campus, treat every class as a coaching class, and I don't think students would ever need to get any tuition. You know, Professor Sinha, as he once described it to me, When he had come, that was in 1930 or 31, his manager had come, accompanied him to Patna. He had passed his matriculation and he had come here to study science. So straight away he was taken to the science college, but it was early and the office was closed. And after 5-10 minutes, he told his manager, let us go to another college. Then he said, medical college? Yes. So from science college he went to medical college, and there while passing through the morgue, he had some bad smell. And he told his, jamindars used to have burials. That was the technical term. So he told his manager, I can't study here. There is so much of foul smell. Let us go to another college. And then he went to Patna College, where the office was open because now it was time and there was no foul smell. So he took admission in Patna College. Dr. Pathak always speaks about luck, always speaks about chance. It was our luck, it was a sheer chance that the student who had come to join science college had gone to join medical college, ultimately came to Patna College and in due course became our teacher and illumined so many of us. God is great. After completing his MA, he joined Patna University and he was the most popular teacher in the department. You can read Dr. Mangal Murthy's blog where he has written these things also, some of these things, not everything. And students was free with him and he used to talk to him about teachers also. This teacher speaks for 50 minutes and he doesn't say anything. So he mentioned this to that teacher, students say this about you. And laughingly he said, oh, they understand that. He went to England, did his PhD on D.H. Lawrence. Everybody will speak on that, so I don't touch upon that. But his supervisor, Lord David Cecil, in one of his meetings, mentioned Henry James. So on way back to his residence, he went to the bookshop, bought as many books of Henry James as were available, asking to bring the remaining ones, and put Lawrence aside and studied all the books of Henry James and was quite influenced. And then he wrote his thesis, completed that, came back to India. He was not the head of the department immediately on his return, but he asked the head of the department to introduce Henry James in the MA syllabus, and Henry James was introduced. He was a man of pure literature, remember. And up to the 60s, there was, and I'm using this word deliberately, there was animosity between literature and linguistics. And our teachers are sitting here. Ask them, did they ever like to teach grammar? No, because teaching grammar, teaching structures, that was demeaning. I should teach poetry. Professor William Stannard Allen's book, Living English Structure, was published in 1947, which he came across in London. On his return, he got that book introduced to the Patna University syllabus. In 1954, his another book, Living English Speech, got out, and in 56, when the copies of the book were available in the market, he introduced that to Patna University syllabus. In no other university in India, these two books were prescribed at that time. And that's how he brought English department out of Victorian age into the modern age. The credit of modernizing English department, not only in Patna University, but in the whole of North India and those South Indian professors who came in contact with him in their universities also. You know, in the 60s, as I told you, he was the first to get linguistics introduced to the department in Patna University. No, in no university English department linguistics was taught. He was the expert when Professor Sulabh Singh was appointed professor in Delhi University. He told me, and this was told to me by Professor Sulabh Singh also, when I met him in an interview. You come from Patna University? I said yes. Professor R.K. Sinha was your teacher? I said yes. Do you know? He appointed me professor in Delhi University. And do you know? He rejected Professor S.K. Kumar, C.U.K. Kumar in BHU. This was reported to me by Professor Sulabh Singh, who later became the governor of Gujarat or Rajasthan. Yeah. But then the chairman of the board was Professor Dhan, who, because it was for Nehru, and he happened to be the vice chancellor, and he wanted to give me, I don't know why, some pinpricks. So he said, Professor Singh, he teaches linguistics. And listening to the word linguistics, he said, what? You teach linguistics? Why do you teach linguistics? I said, it gives us a better understanding of literature. He said, do you mean to say that I haven't studied linguistics and therefore I have not better understanding of literature? I said, oh, Pathak. Then I said, yours is a different case, sir. And he said, yes, mine is a different case. Okay, go ahead. So this was the animosity, not only in England, in India also, between literature and linguistics. And at that, whenever he came from some interviews in the BPSC, he would ask me, and would ask Professor Tiwari, what is this fricative? A student came for the interview, and whenever I ask any question, he mentioned, fricatives? Fricatives? What are fricatives? What are affricates? No. So he had no interest, but he knew. And it is said that a teacher must have future in his bones, and he had future in his bones, because you are teaching students not those who are useful for today, but who shall be useful for 40, and now when the age of retirement is 65, some of them maybe for 45 years. So you are creating the generations for the future, and he knew what the future will be like. So he was a visionary. He revolutionized the department. I saw whenever a teacher used to come, many of those sitting here included, sir, I want to take a class in the PG department. What would you like to teach? This author. What have you read on that author? Have you read all his books? Sir, these I haven't. Read those first. What critical books have you read on that author? Say, he named 3. And then he would add 3, 4 more. Read these also. And from next session, you will take a class on this. That's how he inspired students. That's how he inspired teachers. How I came in contact with him. You know, when I did my MA, I started working on my research project and prepared it under the supervision of Professor K.M. Tiwari. So it to Professor Sinha. And you know, whenever I passed by that gate, I mean, thinking Professor Sinha lives here, I used to shiver. That was the awe, I won't call it fear, awe that his name would inspire. And then come back to me. If he would have asked me not to come back to him, then it seems I wouldn't have gone to him. But since I had to report to Professor Tiwari, so I went to him. And I came from a village. I didn't know what is the proper time to visit a person. So I went there at 1:30, and that was summer. And there was nobody outside. Sanjay sitting behind you was a small kid. And I stood there in the portico for nearly 4 hours or so. And it was good luck for me that usually he had a pig done by his bedside, but at that time he came out to throw it, and he looked at me, "Kya hai?" And I went and told him that Professor Tiwari had asked me to say, "This year you passed MA?" I said, "Yes." "Okay. Come tomorrow." And then I went tomorrow. After standing in the portico for half an hour, because that day I went late, Manjudi came out, "Kisse milna hai?" I said, "Sir se." And I went in. Okay. And I stood there for 4 hours. He asked, "Where do you live in Patna?" And I told him, "In Musallapur." "Okay, come tomorrow." And this continued for 5-6 days, and it seems that was his way to test people. And then once he was not well, not keeping good health, Sanjay, Manjudi and others had gone to Hazaribagh. So he asked me to stay with him until they come back. And at that time I stayed with him for 1 full month. Every night he would ask me, "Go to that bookshelf, You see that red book? Yes, take that out, read. And that's how he would ask me to read every day. In the meantime, I got an appointment letter from Ghazipur Postgraduate College. And he said, okay, go. But on your way, come here, take your dinner here, and then go. I went there, Mataji didn't come to his room at that time, but that day she came. And she saw my bag and asked me, "Kahin jai tha kab hua?" And I explained that to her. And then she asked him, "Tab to apne akele ho jaye?" And I saw some kind of, what should I say, a gloom on his face. And inadvertently it came out of my mouth, "Sir, aap kahe to main nahi jaunga." And suddenly there was a glow and he said, "Kahan UP TUP jaoge, tumko Bihar mein naukari nahi milegi." And I got a job here. On the day I was going, he asked me, but if you allow me, but we are running short of time, I can speak until evening and still it would be incomplete. Just one thing and the rest next year. How many shirts do you have? I said 3. And pants? I said 3. And coat? I said I don't have any coat. I have a half sweater and I have a full sweater. And my first appointment was in the women's college at Bhagalpur. He said, but for teachers, dress is not important, I know, but it is also a factor. Okay, Manju, that coat, which was a little oversized to me, volato, and that coat came and I tried. It was nearly all right. Okay, carry this. Manju, that t-shirt which I bought at Oxford but never put on, and that came, and that he also gave me. And that tie, which when Ramchandar came back from England, brought for me, I never tied that, and he gave that me. Tie bandhne aata hai? I said, no, sir. Okay, go to Bhagalpur, tell Ramchandar that she should teach you to read and teach, and he should also teach you how to knot a tie. Thank you very much. Rest.
The key speakers are Dr. Damodar Thakur, former Chairman, Faculty of Humanities, Sana University, Sana, Yemen. I'm not sure whether you accept Patna Institute alumnus or not. And Dr. Sanjay Datta Rai, Professor of English, Allahabad University. Today's guest of honor, Dr. J.P. Singh, who was a teacher of Patna University, my teacher also, and former Vice Chancellor at Patna University, Dr. Avdesh Kumar Sharma ji, was just given a glimpse over the profile or the profile of Dr. R.P. Sinha, today's chairman or chairperson, Dr. Shankar Ashish Dutt, professor and head of geography, Patna University. Many senior superannuated teachers are here. present teachers, invited guests, students, ladies and gentlemen, media persons, friends, at the very outset, I express my sincere thanks to the R.K. Sinha Memorial Committee who provided me this privilege to be here and to inaugurate this great function. But at the same time, I shall also express my thanks to them for remembering a teacher who was par excellence, outstanding. Friends, nowadays it has become a rare thing, becoming rare. Teachers once superannuated, the culture is emerging, would hardly be remembered by the departments, even the students. And those who departed forever, and sir, you people or the Department of English, Patna University, remembers him, and every year memorial lecture you organize. It is not a small thing, and I congratulate you for keeping it, and I hope you will continue. Samir Sharma ji was talking of the R.K. Sinha Memorial Chair or the professorship in Patna University. I assure you, sir, you initiate this because persons like R.K. Sinha must be remembered and there must be a chair on his name. We in Patna University have established recently on the name of Ambedkar, Jagjivan Ram. Recently a resolution was sent on the some other persons. In Urdu also a proposal has come. I sent to UGC. So I am telling Shankarji and Samirji both, you through the departmental council properly give proposals, and that could be implemented either with the help of UGC or even his old students or alumni of Patna University, even some corporate sector, some social organization can initiate and can provide the fund, and there must be, it will be the best tribute to Dr. R.K. Sinha if we establish a chair in Patna University. And I assure you all, sir, from my parts, I am always ready to provide you all kinds of help, whatever is possible from my chair or from my office. I'd be the happiest person if it is met live during my tenure. So this is a very good move, Samirji. I would advise you to move forward with this idea and must be implemented. Friends, I was not a student of Professor R.K. Sinha, but in 1967, when I came in Patna College, immediately coming to the college and in Jacksonville to hostel, we could come to know only about a few teachers, and R.K. Sinha's name was the first. So we intend to see just a glimpse of R.K. Sinha. Couldn't attend the class. In English, he had not taken our classes, but that was his personality within the campus. P. Dayal in geography, R.K. Sinha, persons like in English, everywhere within the campus, or students across the department college were knowing and have a kind of fear, cannot face, but respect I cannot express. Such was this respect. You cannot scale it. I became teacher in Patna University in 1976 January. That time also he was the teacher. So I was his student. I also became colleague. And for I think 1978 he departed forever. Till that, sometimes we used to pronounce that's okay, nothing more. So R.K. Sinha's contribution not simply as a teacher of English, a scholar of English, a researcher of English, but as a teacher beyond the English for all who were within the campus, whether it's student of geography, history, any departments, everyone would respect it. That is a rare thing. And that was the commanding personality of Dr. R.K. Sinha. That's why everyone used to give respect to him. So I still remember when he retired, it was a matter of talk. When he departed forever, again I was teacher in Patna University. So a kind of void was created. No one can replace even at present. That was his personality. Friends, today there are two speakers. They will speak on topics: ancient India's search for identity and for its suitable language. And the other talk will be on pedagogy of stories to knowledge and wisdom journeys. And so I hope they will deliver a lot for all of us. We shall be benefited. And with these words, we are Senate House. So again I am telling you, next year when you organize this, but if you organize within the campus, I will be the happiest person. I find all kinds of help you. So I also love to be coming here in Helsinki, so no hatred from this hall. But since it is on Dr. R.K. Sinha, the befitting tribute would be if sir next year the same be organized in the Village Senate Hall. And I on Patna invite you all, including the village and all others. Pathak, you all come sir on that occasion in Patna University with these thanks.
Before I start speaking on the topic announced for today, I would like to say a few words other than the topic. I think the best way in which you can pay compliments to Dr. Sinha is not to say that he was great. Try to achieve his greatness. Try to achieve his excellence. Be an achiever like him. I always told my students, if you want to pay compliments to me, organize yourself in such a way that I can feel proud of you. The real compliment to Dr. Sinha will be to make him proud wherever he is in heaven by our scholarship, by our researches, by the excellence of our teaching. These words of compliments are not really that much of use. Dr. Sinha is waiting in heaven. History is waiting for someone, for many people, for as many people as possible to have that kind of scholarship, and that would be the real compliment to him. That would be the real memorial. Someone asked me, what is the condition of the teaching of English in India, in Bihar in particular? I said, मेरी तिजारत का कुछ न पूछिए, मेरी तिजारत का कुछ न पूछिए, आईना बेचता हूँ अंधों के शहर में। कब तक आईना हम लोग अंधों के शहर में बेचते रहेंगे? डॉक्टर सिन्हा को कॉम्प्लीमेंट्स पे कीजिए. Try to have the kind of achievement that he represented. Now, about the topic. I first of all show my gratitude to the department for giving me this opportunity to share my thoughts on this topic by way of my compliments to Dr. Sinha. The topic, as you know, is Ancient India's Search for Identity and for its suitable language. Search for identity. You might wonder, what is this search for identity? The search for identity is who we really are. There was a time when I was a small boy. I was a student. I became married. I became a father. I am a brother. I became a teacher. I am lecturing to you. Are these my identities? No. There is something in me, that me, which never changed. What is that me? What is that me in all of you? You see, I will start with mentioning to you a legend in the life of Lord Buddha. Angulimal, you might have heard of him. Angulimal was a big murderer, Don in the language today. He wanted to have a garland of 1,000 fingers. He killed a person, cut one of his fingers, and made a kind of pearl in his garland. Now, when Lord Buddha heard of him, he wanted to meet him. And when he was going ahead, Angulimal said, "Hey, stop!" And Buddha said, "I stopped a long time ago, now it's for you to stop." And then he said, "What kind of mad person is he? Who are you?" He said, "I am the same as you are." And when Angulimal said, "I am the same as you are," he thought, maybe he will have another accomplice. He will have someone to support him in his job of killing people. And then this was the starting point. The point was, I know who you are. Buddha knew who he was. Buddha was a prince. He became a monk. That was not him. Another small story. There was a saint called Eknath in Maharashtra. Once I was passing by, some people were beating a person. He said, "Hey, what are you doing? Why are you beating him?" They said, "He borrowed money and never returned it to us." So he said, "Okay, I don't have the money, so I cannot pay the money to you. Start beating me instead of him." He said, "What kind of person are you? Who are you? And how is he related to you?" He said, "I am the same person as he is. I am the same person as you are. We are essentially the same. Our names are different. Our faces are different. We look different. But we are all essentially the manifestation of the same spirit. We are all the same." This is a question of identity. Our ancient seers wanted to find out who the human beings really were. Human beings are human beings, but that's not enough. Who are we? What are we really? Now, before I try to share with you my understanding of what these sages and seers in ancient India thought about the real human identity, I will tell you something about what the people in the West during the last few hundred years have told us about our identity. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, "Among the Devarshis I am Narada, among the Maharshis I am Bhrigu, among the Siddhas I am Kapil." Now Kapil, Bhrigu and Narad were the three great opinion makers in ancient India, it seems. The three great opinion makers in the world of today during the last 200 years were Darwin, Sigmund Freud, and Karl Marx. They have been telling us time and again, again and again, again and again who we really are. What did Darwin tell us? He said, you are all animals. Your father was an animal. Your ancestors were all animals. Essentially, even now you are animals. So, according to Darwin, this was our identity. We are animals. And, you see, there was a time when someone in the United States taught Darwin in his school and he had to pay a fine of $150. Darwin was so much discarded. But Darwin became the greatest intellectual of the age. There were textbooks, there were researches, there were journals, there were books. And everybody started believing that what Darwin said was really right. We are animals. Our fathers were animals. Our ancestors were animals. We are nothing but animals. You see, there was a surrealist painter in America. He said, let us never forget, mark the word, let us never forget that the greatest man is never more than an animal disguised as a God. He said, not only you, the greatest man. For him, Christ was an animal, Buddha was an animal, we are all animals. This was Darwin. And scholars, painters, dancers, filmmakers, textbook writers, teachers, students, researchers, they all started believing in what Darwin had to say. Here is Mark Twain. Mark Twain said, man was created a bloody animal. Bloody animal. This was our identity, according to them. Man was created a bloody animal, and I think he will always thirst for blood and will manage to have it. I think he is far and away the worst animal that exists and the only untamable one. We are all animals. Bertrand Russell, you know, one of the greatest scholars of the last 100 years, he said, it has been said that man is a rational animal. The emphasis was not on rational, the emphasis was on the word animal. That man is a rational animal. All my life I have been searching for evidence that could support this. Is it rational? No. Man is an animal and nothing more than an animal. Now, this was Darwin. The other person, the other great scholar, well, whether I call him a scholar or not, you see, Karl Marx was certainly a very highly talented person. So was Darwin. And so was Sigmund Freud. What did Karl Marx said about our identity? He said, I quote, the human being is in the most literal sense, not metaphorically speaking, in the most literal sense, a political animal. The emphasis was not on the word political, the emphasis again was on the word animal. Man is an animal. And if you look at some of the politicians these days, you will seem to agree that perhaps he was right. Man is a political animal. Sigmund Freud, again, a great scholar. Certainly a highly talented person. He came with his discovery on sex. And what he said was, man was nothing but a demon starving for sex. Sex was for him the greatest reality. And we were nothing. The human generation is nothing. It's the generation of sexualists. This is not me, I have quotations here. And can you believe it? Now, Sigmund Freud became part of textbooks, part of PhD researches, part of DLit, part of PhD. And Sigmund Freud again became part of the thinking of the common man. And look at the quotation that I am giving you. Here is someone in America saying, the more perfect a person is on the outside, the more demons they have on the inside. If you are look perfect, you are a better demon. And look at this. Someone said, sex is the best high. It is better than any drug. Mark these words, I want to die making love because it feels so good. This was Sigmund Freud. And this is they rubbed it in all of us. You are a sexualist, you are an animal, you are an animal. You may not agree with me, but some of the heinous crimes being committed in India and in the rest of the world are probably a result of this. You will say, people haven't even heard the name of Sigmund Freud. They haven't heard the name of Karl Marx. They haven't heard the name of Darwin. How can you say that the crimes they committed is the outcome of what these scholars say? You see, the mills in Kanpur emit carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide. People all around, farmers who don't know what carbon monoxide is, what carbon dioxide is, they get polluted. Now this is what has happened. People have started realizing in the inner core of their mentality, we are animals. And if we are animals, what's wrong in our doing this? Now this is what the three eminent opinion makers during the last few hundred years have made us believe we are animals. That's our identity. But my job is not to tell you what Karl Marx or Darwin or Freud had to say. My job is to draw your attention to what the ancient sages and seers said about our identity. They said, this is what the Upanishad says, I am Brahmasmi. I am a spark of divinity. I am not an animal. I am Brahmasmi. I am Brahma. I am a spark of divinity. I am divinity embodied. And there is a very good verse in the Gita which says, just as fire is covered with smoke, just as a mirror is covered with dust, just as in the womb of a mother the fetus is covered by a jelly-like substance, that spark of divinity in us is surrounded by a veil of ignorance. And all that we have, if you want to find out our real identity, if you want to find out who we really are, remove that veil of ignorance. Kabir Das said, Gungat ke pat khol re, tuhe piya milenge. Gungat ke pat khol. Now the point is, when our seer said, I am Brahmasmi, I am a spark of divinity. I am not an animal. Animality may be an outer cover, outer appearance. But I am divine. I am the same as you. I am the same as everyone else. Now this is very important. Now Hitler, for example, felt that he belonged to a superior race and the others were not. And that's why he killed the Jews. The white people believe that the brown and the black people are inferior to them. Our sages and seers not only said, I am Brahmasmi, they said, Tattvamasi, you are also the same. I am a spark of divinity and so are you. I and you. Once I said, science is a discussion of nouns. Spirituality is a discussion of pronouns. I, you. Who am I? Who are you? And who are the others? So first of all they said, I am Brahmasmi, Tattvamasi, I am Brahma, you are also Brahma, and we are all Sarvam Khalvidam Brahma. Everyone else is the same spark of divinity. We are not different. There is no Dalit, there is no Brahman, there is no man, there is no woman. These are appearances. Inside these appearances, we are all the same. We are all the same. Aham Brahmasmi. I am Brahma. Tattvamasi. You are also the same. Sarvam Khalvidam Brahma. We are all, everyone, not only I and you, the others as well, are the same spark of divinity. And there is a line in the Veda which says, Srinavantu Vishwe, not only Indians. Listen to me, Srinavantu Vishwe, Amritasya Putra, Amritasya Putra, Amritasya Putra. You are all sons of immortality. That's what you are. That's your real identity. Amritasya Putra. Now, man is a spark of divinity. Man is essentially divine. He may behave like an animal, but that's because of the outer crust of ignorance. They said this inner spark has certain characteristics. The first important characteristic is, do you know, in the Indian tradition they always talk of these two words, Atma and Brahma. As a linguist, I try to understand these two words. The word Atma is from the root At, which means steadily to go ahead. And the word Brahma is from the root Bri, which means steadily keep on expanding yourself. And the Veda says, Charaiveti, Charaiveti, keep on growing, keep on advancing, keep on marching ahead. That's what you are, that's what your nature is. The nature of water is to go down. You can make water go up by artificial means. But the inherent nature of water is to go down. The inherent nature of the spark within us is to go ahead, to march ahead, not to go back, not to go down. And there is a very important verse in the Atharva Veda which says, Arohana Akramana Jivato Jivato Ayanam. That's your characteristic, he said. You are meant for these two things. One is Arohana, that is developing yourself, developing yourself. Keep on. What did Dr. Sinha do? He developed himself, And there came a point of a height which became admirable. That's the craving, that's the craze, that's the instinctual need in all of us. We all want to be attainers, we all want to be winners, we all want to be achievers, we all want to be accomplishers. But the outer cover sometimes makes us go down. Instead of going forward, instead of going up, it makes us going backward, it makes us going downward. In the Gita there is a beautiful verse, all verses of course are beautiful, but the verse that I want to draw your attention to is this. They said, there are three kinds of personalities. I then spoke of two kinds of personalities, extrovert and introvert. They spoke of three kinds. They said sattvic, A sattvic is a person who always goes ahead, always marches ahead, is always improving. A rajasi is a person who keeps going around. आप तो प्रोफेसर हो गए, क्या कीजिएगा, गाड़ी कीजिए, शादी कीजिए, मकान बनाइए, की प्रॉब्लम. And a tamasi is a person who keeps going down, going backward. And what these seers said, it's your nature, you are cut out to be this, you are meant to be this. This is your defining characteristic, to be going up, up and up. If you go down, if you act devilish, if you become a demon, this is against your essential inner nature. Now this was one, arohan, keep going up. And there is another one, akraman. Akraman. Now akraman means attack. Some people will say, what kind of attack is this? Indians never attacked anyone. You know, in the story of Rama, for example, he attacked Lanka and then did not make Lanka part of his territory. He gave it to Vibhishan. He killed Bali and he could have made his kingdom one of his colonies, but he gave it to Sugriv. So, we were never attackers. So people say, what kind of word is this, akraman? They say, akraman is your defining feature, it's your essential nature. And what does it mean? Yes, it has a beautiful meaning. And this meaning has something to do with Dr. Sinha here. Akran. What is research? Research is a raid. It's an attack on the territory of the unknown. The territory of the unknown is much vaster, much larger, infinitely larger. The territory of ignorance, the territory of unknown. The territory of what we know is comparatively very small. And our sayer said, it's your defining characteristic. This is what you are cut out to be. This is what you are meant to be. This is your essential nature. Keep attacking on the area of ignorance. Try to make a bit of the area of ignorance, the area of the unknown, part of the known. Attackers. And said, if you are going up and up, and if you are always achieving something by trying to act in the, they say, research is a raid on the inarticulate. Research is a raid on the territory of ignorance. Research is an attack on the territory of the unknown. If you keep on doing this, as Dr. Sinha did, you have really known your identity. You have really found out who essentially, truly you are. Arohan, Akraman. This is what our seer said. These are your two defining, yours, mine, everybody's. These are the two defining features of the human identity. This is our identity. The topic was ancient India's search for identity. And these people said, your identity is not what Karl Marx has said, a political animal. Your identity is not what Sigmund Freud has said, a sexualist. Your identity is not what Darwin had said, an animal, basically. You are not an animal. You are a spark of divine. Amritasya Putra, you are the sons and daughters of immortality. Now, this is the first part of my topic. Ancient India's search for identity. हमारी पहचान क्या है? हम कौन हैं? हम क्या हैं? Now, once they realized who they really were, they were on the lookout for a suitable type of language. By language here I mean not Sanskrit or Hindi or English. A suitable language variety. What kind of language variety will be appropriate for who we really are? And the first characteristic they said, the point is this, the language for describing that ultimate reality and the language we need for intercommunication amongst ourselves. You see, the language they needed for describing, you see, there is a difference between Greek scholarship and ancient Greek scholarship and ancient Indian scholarship. The Greeks, you know, they had a court, law court, in which 120 or so many members sat. They were all judges. And people who were guilty had to present their case before that court, or any one of their friends or relatives had to do that. And for them, the important thing was clarity. Speak so clearly and so emphatically that the judges can be influenced. Clarity, emphasis. Our commitments were different. For our rishis, the important thing was to describe the ultimate reality. Where have we come from? Where did we start? How did the creation begin? They didn't have to define or devise a language variety for pleasing the judges as the Greeks had to. Their primary concern was to describe the indescribable. Where did we come from? What is that ultimate reality? Where did the creation start? And for that they realized that there were three characteristics that they needed in their language. Number one, it had to be a negative language, language of negativity. You know, I'm told that someone from Bihar went as a laborer to the hills in the Himalayan region, and there he found a strange fruit. And when they came back, his people asked him, what was that fruit like? Was it like a mango? No. Was it like lychee? No. Was it like an orange? No. Because the fruit was not like anything that he knew before. That's the proper thing. That indescribable reality is not like anything of our common experience. So, what they decided was that it had to be a language of negativity. And I don't have much time, but they had expressions like, in Mandukya Upanishad for example, that reality is birthless, sleepless, dreamless, nameless, formless, negative. They didn't say what it was like, they only said what it was not like. Kathopanishad says that reality is soundless, touchless, colorless, undiminishing, tasteless, odorless, without beginning and without end. This is a special characteristic, I said, the search for language. They were looking for an appropriate variety of language for describing that reality, and they thought that one of the best varieties was the language of negativity and the language of contradiction. The Greeks avoided contradiction because if they contradicted themselves, the judges would not be pleased, they would not be influenced. So, but the Indian sages formulated a language of contradictions for describing that reality. And if you listen to me carefully, I will give you some examples. You know, in the Rig Veda, there is a description of the beginning of creation. And they said, in the beginning, there was nothing. You say, what kind of nothing? This is simple. In the beginning, there was nothing, not even nothingness. Not even nothingness. And there is a philosophical principle in India called Shatabad. Look at the words. In that they say, he is, full stop, one sentence. He is, second sentence, he is not. He is, first sentence. He is not, second sentence. The third sentence, he both is and he both is not. What kind of language is this? You keep on contradicting yourself. But this language of contradiction they devised as the best suitable stylistic trait for describing that reality. The language of negativity and the language of contradiction. And then they had the language of exuberance. See, some of our gods have 100 hands, 3 eyes. The sun and the moon are their eyes, and so on. Sita came out of the soil when his father was tilling the land, plowing the land. These are languages of exuberance. How can a girl come out of the earth? How can someone have 100 hands? In the Gita, in the 10th, 11th chapter, you have the description of Krishna as a terribly large entity. Now, the language of exuberance, this was essential again for describing that reality. But for dealing with common people, because they knew that whoever they were dealing with, essentially the divine spirit as they are. So they said, we have to use a very sweet language. They said, Vacha vadami madhumad. Always try to be sweet in your conversation. There is a beautiful verse which says, Jiva agre madhu, jiva mule madhulakam. Let there be honey at the back of your tongue. Let there be honey at the front of your tongue. Let all your speeches be really sweet. Now, sweet language. Why sweet language? Kabir Das in one of his poems said, Katuk bachan mat bol re. Because we and I, we are all the same divine spirit. Why become rude? Who are you going to be rude to? Now, sweetness was an essential characteristic of the language they thought appropriate for conversation, because they knew that there was no Sudra, there was no Brahmin, there was no black, there was no white. We are all essentially the same divine spirit. We are all the same. We are all brothers. We are all the children of immortality. So why use a rude language? Be sweet to each other. Now, sweetness is not only a matter of vocabulary. I will give you an example. You can say to someone, type this paper now. Will you type this paper now? It will become sweet. Do this for me now. Could you do this for me now? The same thing can be said with a tone of sweetness around it. And our ancestors said, be sweet in your conversation with everyone else, because that everyone else is the same as you are. There is no student, there is no teacher, there is no man, there is no woman, there is no old, there is no young, there is no Sudra, there is no Brahmin. We are all essentially the same spark of divinity. So be cordial and sweet in your language to each other. Now we can go on about the other characteristics of the language as they considered appropriate. But the time is limited. I will just mention one or two. They said not only sweet, Kalyanim, Vacham Kalyanim. Don't speak in such a way that people can be enraged, so that people can divide themselves into bits and groups, so that people can start quarreling. Kalyanim. Your language should be Vacham Kalyanim. And that was not enough. They always said, Bhargaspati Vacham. Being sweet is not enough. Let there be some elegance in your language. Elegance. So our language should be sweet, our language should be elegant. And if you ever listen to Dr. Sinha speaking, you could remember how elegant his language was. So, there are other people to speak. One of the best ways of paying compliment to Dr. Sinha will be to realize what our ancestors, what our sages and seers thought about who we were, and keep ourselves from the polluting influence of the three opinion makers of the last few centuries I have mentioned. You see, they say that we are putting lots of garbage in our rivers. We are putting a lot of garbage in the sea, but we don't realize how much of garbage is being put inside the sea of our collective unconscious. Our collective unconscious has been constantly polluted, and there is need now for depolluting our consciousness. Pathak is doing great weeks, so took a few drops of water from the lake and put it on the water by way of quenching the fire. Someone said, "Hey, pigeon, forest is on fire, and with these small beaks, what are you going to do?" The pigeon said, "When the history is written of forest fires, it will be known that there are people who wanted to burn the forest, and there were birds like me who wanted to do away with that fire." So, Pathak is doing great work, but with my limited means and in my small capacity, I am doing the work of that pigeon, trying to remind you of your ancient heritage, trying to remind you that your conscience, your collective unconscious is being polluted. Let's depollute our consciousness. And the best ways, one of the best ways of depolluting our consciousness is to remind us who we are, what our ancestors had to say about us, what is our real identity, हम कौन हैं, हम क्या हैं. There are other people to speak, so I don't want to take a long time. Thank you.